We are diving into a message called Don't Waste It. Don't waste it, my friend. So don't waste a bad hand you've been dealt. Don't waste a feeling, and don't waste an opportunity to do life together. Those are three things that we're going to dive into. So, first one, don't waste a bad hand. How many of you guys feel like you've been dealt a bad hand in life? Right? I want you to put that in the comments. I feel like I've been dealt a bad hand. Right? I think a lot of times in life, it's either going to happen at the beginning, at the middle, or the end of our life. At some point, you're going to get dealt a bad hand. And in the beginning, it's really tough because you have no control over it. And it's not your fault, right? The home life you come from, where you grew up, all of those type of things. My brother is adopted from South Korea, right? He didn't get to choose being adopted into my family. That was chosen for him. A lot of you, if you have bad home life situations, we don't choose our parents. They're chosen for us, right? So we don't get to choose those type of things. Now, later on in life, in the middle or the end of life, we can deal ourselves a bad hand because of our choices and because of our decisions. Those are types of things that we can deal ourselves a bad hand. We can mess up and we can get caught cheating, right? We can get cheating on a test if you're in high school or middle school. Or you can mess up, you can be hanging around the wrong crowd, and you can get caught doing the things that you shouldn't be doing, drinking alcohol, smoking, whatever, right? Or the end of life, or middle to end of life, and then you get dealt a bad hand and you get cancer, right? That's something that happens to you. But ultimately, what I believe, life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. So we don't want to waste a bad hand. And here's what I mean. If you look at the age-old story of David and Goliath, everybody knows this story. David slings that rock and kills the giant Goliath. But what most people don't understand and what most people don't know is the fact that before David shot that slingshot, he was just a shepherd boy. Maybe you were just somebody from a group home. Maybe you're just somebody in a situation you don't want to be in. Maybe you're just somebody with your household is divided. Your parents are divorced. Maybe you're just somebody who doesn't come from money. Maybe you're just somebody who lost a friend. Maybe you're just somebody who lost something that was precious and valuable to them. I feel you. Now listen to me real quick. David was just a mere shepherd boy. So when his dad Jesse told him to go bring bread to his brothers who were on the front lines, the Israelites are fighting the Philistines in this story, okay? And the Israelites are up against the Philistines, not only up against the Philistines, but up against Goliath, who's this 9-foot tall giant. And David overhears when he's bringing some bread as a shepherd boy to his brothers, the warriors, that, hey, there's a huge reward for killing Goliath. Now, he hears that and he goes up and talks to the other warriors and like, what do I get? What do I get if I kill this Philistine? What do I get if I kill Goliath? And he's like, I'm in. Now, his brothers overhear him. His brothers say to him, no. You're just a shepherd boy. Don't you have sheep to take care of, David? So his own family doesn't even believe in the destiny and the calling that's on his life because David had a different type of energy. David didn't just believe in himself. He believed in a calling to do the work that was presented to him. He had a calling within him to go kill Goliath. And then later on in the story, you see Saul, the king, is like, no, David, you can't go. You're just a shepherd boy. This is Goliath. He's been training his whole life since he was a youth. You are but a youth. But David says, no. You don't understand. And this is why I say don't waste a bad hand. Because a lot of us think that David was dealt a bad hand being a shepherd, but that bad hand is the same thing that's going to propel him to sling that rock and kill Goliath. Because here's what he says. You don't understand, Saul. I was a mere shepherd boy, but when lions and bears came to kill my flock and take my sheep from my hands, I would remove the sheep from the lion's mouth. I would remove the sheep from the bear's mouth and smack them and kill them. And I would take my sheep back and kill the lions and bears. So when I say that I don't care who is in front of me because I've been prepared being a shepherd boy, killing lions and bears, that who is this Philistine? Who is this Goliath to stand in my way? So sometimes we feel like we've been dealt a bad hand, but it's actually been the hand that's been preparing us for the work that we're going to do in the future. So here's what David does, right? He goes to the front lines. He grabs his 5 stones. He takes off the armor that Saul tries to give him, and he slings those rocks. Boom! One rock to the temple. Goliath goes down. So what I want to remind you of today is do not waste a bad hand. David didn't waste a bad hand that he was given. His brothers got to go fight on the front lines, but they had fear of Goliath, even though they were fighters. David was a shepherd boy, but he knew what he was called to do. So everything that he had done in the past was preparation for his future. So this is what I want to call out in all of you. All of you, no matter what you've been through, no matter the circumstances that you've been through in life, all of it has been preparation for where you're going. All of it has been preparation for the calling on your life. All the difficulties, all the things that you've seen, all the ugliness, all the things people have called you, all the things people have said and placed a limit on you. They've placed a lid on your life because of where you come from, because of your circumstances, because of your skin color, because of your religion, because of your background, because of your socioeconomic status. All of that is just mere lids that people are trying to keep you down from your calling. They're trying to keep you down because of a bad hand that you've been dealt. So the shift that I want you to take right now is you need to release the burden of the hand that you got, right? You got to release that and say, hey, this may or may not be my fault. Like it could totally be my fault if it's in the middle or end of your life. Like you could have made some bad decisions and the hand you've been dealt has been because of you messing up your life, right? But you got to take ownership. But either way, if it's not your fault or if it is your fault, because I want to be empathetic to people that maybe you didn't get yourself in the situation that you're in, right? You didn't choose where you're born. You didn't choose, that you were adopted like my brother. You didn't choose your home life situation, right? It's not your fault. But now here's the action that I want you to take. You got to, that mindset shift, you got to release that burden, okay? And number 2, the mindset, the action that you need to take is how are you going to play your hand now? Now, we know the hand that you got, either because it's not your fault or maybe it is your fault. Now, how are you going to play your hand? Because I don't want somebody to get to the end of their life and go, you know what? I got dealt a bad hand, but I made even worse decisions. I got dealt a bad hand, but I made even worse choices. Or I got dealt a bad hand, but then I blamed my bad hand for my behavior. So I think some of you guys are out there, you're blaming other people for your current behavior. Your current behavior is because of your choices, not because of your background. Don't miss that. Your current behavior is because of your choices, not because of your background. So it is liberating to know that you too have a choice. You have a choice in the way that you go. You have a choice in the way that you think. You have a choice in the people that you hang around. You have a choice in how you behave. You have a choice in how you handle yourself. And I want to remind you that you're not your circumstances, right? You are not your stat sheet. Your soul and who you are is separate from your circumstances in your stat sheet. We have to draw a clear-cut line and say, my worth and value is totally different from what happens to me in my life. I can never add the worth and value, and I can never take away from worth and value. I can never add the worth and value, and I can never take away from worth and value. That's right, Anthony. How we doing, man? You can never add the worth and value or take away from worth and value. That's the action that I need you to take, is that it's your choice what you do now with how you play your hand. And your worth isn't defined by your circumstances. Your worth isn't defined by where you come from. You are already worthy, and you need to walk in that worthiness and not waste the hand that you're dealt, because the hand that you're dealt could be the very thing that's preparing you for your purpose. That's preparing you for your calling, just like David. So the number two thing we're not going to waste is don't waste the feeling. That's a quote from Nick Saban after the 2019 national championship game where they beat the Georgia Bulldogs, is don't waste the feeling. Now, he said this because in 2018, Jalen Hurts, who was 26-2 as a starting quarterback, gets the starting job removed from him in the national championship against the Georgia Bulldogs. A guy named Tua comes in, who ends up being a Miami Dolphins player. He comes in and wins the game on a 41-yard touchdown in overtime when Jalen Hurts is benched, right? The following year, it's Jalen Hurts' junior season now, and he's going to be on the bench. So Nick Saban is saying, don't waste the feeling of you being benched for this next year and for the rest of your life. Because here's what happens. That whole junior season for Jalen, he rides the bench, and then they get to the national championship game again against the Georgia Bulldogs. And guess what happens? Tua goes down with a hurt ankle. And guess now who's in the game? It's Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts grabs that ball, he steps up, and then boom, they have a come from behind victory to win the 2019 national championship. So not only does Jalen Hurts get replaced in the national championship in 2018 against the Bulldogs, he then becomes the replacement, right? He gets replaced in 2018, then becomes the replacement in 2019, and he goes to win the game against the Bulldogs and for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Okay, now get that. So don't waste that feeling. Don't waste that hunger. Keep preparing, even though you may not like your circumstances. Keep going, even though you may not like what's happening to you. Don't waste a bad feeling. Don't waste pain, right? Pain can be transferred into purpose. The difficult things that you go through is the very thing that you can translate to somebody else. You're going to serve somebody in a higher capacity when you get through the things that you're supposed to go through. Look at this in 1 Peter, right? It talks about, "And the God of all grace who called you to his eternal glory after you have suffered a little while will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast." So after suffering, you'll be strong, firm, and steadfast. Jalen, after he suffers by being benched and taken out of the game, becomes strong, firm, and steadfast because in 2019, he comes out and wins it. Next year, he transfers to Oklahoma, gets runner-up in the Heisman. Okay. Then he gets drafted in the second round by the Eagles, then leads the Eagles to the 2022 Super Bowl. And then after that, he becomes the highest paid football player in National Football League history. So he goes from being benched and taken out of the game to sitting on the bench for an entire year, to making a great comeback, to leading the team to a Super Bowl, to becoming the highest paid NFL football player ever. So the mindset shift I need you to make right now is that mindset shift that you have to make. Don't waste that feeling. Is the fact that you are not alone. We are all together in this. You are not alone. We are all together in this. Okay? And the action is don't waste pain. Let it propel you to serve others. So don't waste that pain, right? We've all gone through pain. We've all gone through bad feelings. We've all gone through bad emotions. Don't waste those feelings. Use it. Figure it out what you're doing, and then use it to serve other people, because that is what we are called to do in this life, is to serve others, is to find a tribe of people that are going to be there for us in the good times and the bad times. And sometimes that means letting go of some people that aren't meant to be in your life anymore. And that can be a difficult thing to identify. Okay. So number 3 thing is don't waste an opportunity to do it together. Okay. Don't waste an opportunity to do it together. Now, I want you to imagine this right now. Okay. If you were to imagine, like in the old Christmas movies, you got that horse, and then you got the cart, right? In the old Christmas movies, it's snowing, you hop in the cart with your wife, with your kids, and you got the horse pulling you along. Okay. Well, there is this verse in the Bible that talks about my yoke is easy, but the burden is light. Right? That my yoke is easy, but the burden is light. And it says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." So what Jesus is saying here, and what this analogy is painting the picture of, is when there is work that needs to be done, it is better to do it together than to do it alone. Because if we get in that cart with one horse pulling us, that work is going to be difficult. And when you try to do it alone, you're going to stress your body, you're going to stress your mind, and things are going to become hard. But imagine now when you go from one horses to two horses, or you go from two horses to four horses, or if you go from four horses to six horses. The work and the amount that you're pulling and the weight that you're carrying is the exact same. Don't miss that. The weight that you're carrying and the work that you have to do is the exact same. But the number of horses that are pulling the weight and doing the work has now increased. And when that happens, when that happens, we have more horsepower, we have more horses pulling the same amount of weight and working, everything becomes lighter. Everything becomes lighter. And that's what this verse is saying, that things will become lighter when you give it to God. Things will become lighter when you do it together. So the mindset shift that I want you to make is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, you need to go together. So the action we got to take now is you need to release people who want to go tag along and not do any work. How many people do you have in your life right now that just want to tag along and not do any work? They want to ride in the cart, but they don't want to pull the cart. They want to look like they're doing the work. They want to be associated with you, but they actually don't ever want to encourage you. They actually don't ever want to get in a fight with you. And they actually sometimes discourage you. We need to let those people go. We don't necessarily have to tell them, but we create new boundaries with them. And the other action I need you to take is you gotta stop being isolated. I think a lot of you are wearing your headphones at the gym in your own mind, in your own zone. But then you got your headphones on at work doing your own thing. Right? But then you come home and you turn on the TV and you're watching Netflix. So you're around other people at the gym, at work, but then the whole time you're isolated and you're alone. And maybe I'm speaking to somebody, maybe I'm not. But I want to remind you that we weren't called to go at this life alone. You were never called to do this alone. You were called to do this with somebody else. You were called to do this life with other people. I remember earlier today, I was in a funk mentally. Like, I felt like I was on attack. I felt like I was just carrying a lot of burdens. I was carrying a lot of weight, right? I felt unqualified, right? There's a lot of things that God is calling me to do right now. And I feel like I can't do that. There's no way. How could I ever accomplish this? How could I ever do this? And I'm working on projects and I'm kind of like, I just don't know how I'm going to get it done. I don't know how I'm going to fulfill this. And in that moment, I had a decision. Was I going to isolate myself and carry all the burden like the one single horse has to pull the cart? Or was I going to call on my tribe of people and get connected and get plugged in so that other people could carry the weight with me? So I called on my men's group. I sent a message. Hey, man, I need some prayer right now. I need you guys to lift me up. I need you guys to send me some good energy right now. I need some people to help me out. And then I see people, hey, man, we're thinking of you. We're praying for you. And they're taking that burden from me. They're taking that burden from me. They're taking some of the weight. So that weight that I feel on my shoulders, now I've spread it out to other people. And we only are able to do that if we focus on building the right relationships in our life. I think some of us, we don't have the right relationships in our life. We have a lot of relationships, or we have very few relationships that are taking us in the right direction. Right? You might have relationships in your life that feel like a roadblock on the cart that you're trying to pull. You might feel like you got some relationships on your life that are a little anchor to you. Right? It's an anchor on the boat, and your boat's trying to go full speed. You're trying to do what you're meant to do. You're trying to go after your calling. You're trying to do all these things, but you got an anchor attached to your boat. Or you got your tire is wrapped up with that yellow thing that they put on there and it's clamped down. Your car can't go anywhere. Your car can't go anywhere because you got people that are holding you back. And maybe it's not something that you do and tell them you need to go away from my life, but you got to change the proximity that you have to them. And we got to let go of some people, and we got to start hanging around with the right people that we can call upon to take some of our burden, because you can't carry everybody else's burden all the time. Then you're going to be weighed down. We got to separate some of this weight and separate some of this burden that we're carrying and put it on other people, just like I did. I reached out to my community and I said, come on, guys, I need some help today. I need some help. How I'm going to get through this today. I feel like I'm attacked. I'm feeling unqualified. I'm feeling not very good about myself. I feel like I don't know if I can make it today, right? I don't know if I can finish these projects today. I feel unqualified. And I called upon them and they said, yo, bro, we got you. We got you. We're going to encourage you today. We're going to lift you up today. And then boom, I'm starting to feel different because I've built a tribe that wants to carry weight. And so I don't have to carry it all myself. So if you're that type of person where you're always isolated, you always got the earphones in at the gym, you're not even talking to anybody at work, you come home and you watch Netflix. Like, I get it. You might be an introvert, but you need some people that you can call upon sometimes. So having that connection, building deeper relationships, even if it's only with a few people, is very important. And ultimately, what I'll say is that relationship that you have with God, that's a two-way street. You feel like God is distant, God is there, but you're distant from him. You need to start tapping in with him and asking God, the big homie upstairs, what can I do to get closer to you? God, how can I become closer to you? God, what is on my life that I need to get rid of? Right? What are some things that are holding me back? God, you show me. Cast all your cares onto the Lord, for he will sustain you, for the righteous will never be shaken. So you cast onto God what is in your heart that is holding you back, and God will give you peace in return so that you will never be shaken. Those are the 3 points. Don't waste it, baby. Don't waste a bad hand that you've been dealt. Don't waste the feeling that you have of pain or sacrifice or turmoil. And then don't waste an opportunity to cling on to other people and build heavy relationships and deep relationships with people so that you can all carry the weight, right? And you're not just carrying the weight all yourself. And ultimately, God has carried the weight for you. Ultimately, Jesus has paid the price for you and taken all of your weight and taken all of your sin. All you got to do is accept him into your life, and he will take away all of your sins so that you can spend eternity in heaven. You don't got to do this alone. Jesus is with you. Have a blessed day, my friends. Take care. See you art time.